There is a unique rush to watching a lone hero save the world. We love the spectacle of a rogue pilot pulling impossible G-forces, or a warrior taming a mythical beast to turn the tide of battle. But what if that rebellious independence is a sleight of hand? The Maverick hero who plays by his own rules often functions as a Trojan horse, sneaking the political interests of dominant world powers directly into our imaginations. In the 1930s, the Italian philosopher Antonio Gramsci coined a term for this process: cultural hegemony. Hegemony suggests that powerful states don't maintain control through military force alone. Instead, they secure our consent through culture. They craft emotionally convincing stories that make their authority, their interventions, and their dominance seem completely normal, reasonable, and beneficial. While a nation's physical power is obvious in its tanks and drones, its cultural power is largely invisible. The entertainment we consume shapes our understanding of right and wrong, meaning the stories we tell are every bit as crucial as the weapons we build. Our favorite popcorn blockbusters perform heavy ideological lifting. They take the often ugly, highly contested reality of geopolitical dominance and polish it into an attractive, easily digestible, heroic fantasy. You can see this normalization at work in massive military franchises like Rambo or Top Gun Maverick. By zeroing in on a protagonist's personal trauma, bravery, and rebellious streak, these films humanize an otherwise massive, impersonal military-industrial complex. We don't feel like we are watching an empire enforce global dominance. We feel like we are watching a noble guy protect his friends. Look at Rambo 3. The film drops its American protagonists directly into the Soviet-Afghan War, boiling down a fiercely complex, decades-long geopolitical conflict into a morally straightforward rescue mission, where the U.S. is the undisputed defender of freedom. The cultural critic Edward Said identified a similar pattern in his concept of Orientalism. Said argued that Western media frequently paints the non-Western world as irrational, silent, and entirely unknowable, a blank space waiting to be controlled or rescued. Top Gun Maverick takes this to the extreme by creating a literal invisible enemy. The film sends American pilots to bomb a foreign uranium facility, but it completely erases the target nation's name, its geography, its culture, and its civilian population. The foreign country is denied any political agency or human perspective. It exists solely as a collection of snowy mountains, anti-aircraft missiles, and faceless guards, technical obstacles for the American pilots to overcome. By keeping the enemy completely anonymous, the film strips away any uncomfortable questions about international law or civilian casualties. By doing so, a severe violation of another nation's sovereignty is cleanly transformed into a guilt-free, adrenaline-pumping spectacle. But what about films that seem to push back against the empire? Blockbusters like Avatar and RRR wear their anti-colonial messages on their sleeves. Avatar offers a sharp critique of colonial capitalism. It depicts a corporate invasion where human colonizers look at the rich, spiritually significant land of the Na'vi and see nothing but an extractable mineral resource to fuel their own profits. Yet these narratives often stumble into a trap outlined by scholar Gayatri Chakravorty Spivak, who famously asked, "Can the subaltern speak? Can oppressed communities represent themselves, or is their voice always mediated by someone else?" Avatar exposes this contradiction perfectly. The indigenous Na'vi have their own rich culture, warriors, and deep ecological knowledge. Yet their military resistance only succeeds once a human outsider arrives, learns their ways, and takes charge as their ultimate leader. The Indian blockbuster RRR presents a similar dynamic. The film delivers a massive, fist-pumping depiction of anti-colonial resistance, putting the brutal racism and structural violence of the British Empire front and center. However, it achieves this by turning a real historical figure, the Adivasi tribal leader Komaram Bhim, into a mythic superhero. The script strips away his highly specific, localized political demands concerning indigenous land rights and taxation, replacing them with a broad, palatable fantasy of unified Indian nationalism. These blockbusters give marginalized communities immense visual power on screen, but they appropriate the actual struggles to fit a mainstream cultural narrative. They prove that cinematic visibility is definitely not the same thing as self-representation. The political limitations of these cinematic fantasies become obvious when we compare them to actual environmental struggles happening today. In central India, the Ken-Betwa River linking project threatens to submerge villages and destroy massive tracts of forest. Local Adivasi communities are actively fighting against the impending loss of their homes, their memory, and their livelihoods. Unlike the Na'vi on Pandora, these communities do not have a defecting marine or a mythic hero parachuting in to lead their fight. Their survival depends entirely on their own collective action and leadership. They draw on deep ecological knowledge and organize powerful, symbolic political protests, like the Cheetah Satyagraha, to vocalize their demands and assert their right to exist on their ancestral land. Meanwhile, the institutions pushing for these projects rely on the exact same hegemonic language we hear at the movies. They frame mass displacement and ecological extraction as necessary, inevitable steps toward national progress and security. This is why Gramsci's theory matters outside the theater. Our entertainment industry manufactures a dazzling visual barrier, shielding the public from the true, devastating human costs of global resource extraction. That cycle of cultural hegemony only fractures when we apply active media literacy, breaking through the Hollywood spectacle to see the underlying reality. The next time you find yourself cheering for a blockbuster hero, take a step back from the thrill of the victory. Ask yourself, who is actually being protected here? Who is being silenced? And whose real-world suffering is disappearing behind the special effects?